Hi, everyone. I've been receiving quite a lot of communication recently regarding the situation in South Africa. Many of my colleagues in business, my personal colleagues, have been reaching out to discuss what's happening, to talk about how they are dealing with it. We've been sharing some ideas, and I just thought I'm going to talk about this a little bit more publicly because it is a matter that affects all of us and is perhaps more top of mind than any other single subject right now. How do we cope? How do we get the business to continue? How do we continue expanding in the face of, such evident doom and gloom and physical destruction? And I think that for myself, one of the best things that I like to do in moments of crisis or in moments of catastrophe like this, the best solution I find is to just focus on service. So it sounds like an easy concept when I say it, but there's quite a lot underneath it. If you really go deep down, there's a lot of meaning behind the word service. When you are focusing on service, you're really almost entirely focused on the individual that you are helping. You hardly even recognize that you exist. And that's perhaps one of the most powerful tricks to employ at a time like this. Because when we are panicking and when we are afraid and when we are in fear, we are usually worried about ourselves. We are trying to protect ourselves. But the moment you go into the mindset of trying to help another, the attention on oneself diminishes and it becomes so much easier to cope. Like even during the times of my, in times of stress in my career, when I had massive targets to reach and things weren't always working out, one of the tricks I would employ would be to go and speak to another person, find out about them, ask them questions about themselves, and then in doing so, my attention would just get off myself and it would go on to the other person, and then I'd focus more on helping and I'd focus a little bit more on being of service. And it's a really, really great way to think and operate during times of difficulty, because it does inadvertently even have a positive effect on one's area. So it will, eventually positively impact the business, and it will positively impact one's family, because, you just go into this idea of being of service and being of value. And when you do that, it's impossible not to do well as a result. It's impossible not to be successful as a result when you are acting in service of others. So even if it looks, even from a business point of view, as a marketing professional, as someone who is deeply invested in growing businesses, I find that this method or this approach is so powerful, because in effect, even without trying to market one's company, just by looking at it from the viewpoint of how do we use our assets, how do we use our brand, how do we use our footprint to be of help to other companies who need us, or how do we continue to help individuals who might need us right now? How do we leverage our asset base to be of value to others? Just by answering that one big question, one can't help but going into some kind of marketing conversation, even though the intention is not purely to expand or to grow as a result. It is one of those things that just works out, because it's just that's just the way it is. You help and you act in service, and the next thing you know, your own company starts to flourish, and you start dreaming up new products, and you start dreaming up new channels, and you discover new ways of being valuable to others. So there's any God's quantity of good things that come as a result of adopting the mindset of just purely being in service. But the best thing, which is where this entire video segment started, is that it just allows one to calm down and focus and not be as anxious and worried, because one is acting purely in service of others.